Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty School Bobbi. Today I am here with a neighbor and mom friend, which I'm so excited about. This is Laura Price, and she is with Culture Aesthetics in Knoxville, Tennessee. She's also a Tennessee School of Beauty graduate, so I'm really excited to talk to you today about aesthetics.
Yes.
We don't have a ton of people on here that are in your position. I mean, I seriously think on the podcast in total, we've maybe had like you and maybe one other person that's been in medical aesthetics.
Okay.
So I'm really excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
So, you have been graduated and been a licensed esthetician for how many years now?
I want to say 14.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 going on 15, somewhere in that ish area.
I think that's really awesome about your career specifically is over those 14 years.
It's changed so much.
How different.
Yeah, it's evolved just like in such a beautiful way, but it has changed drastically.
Yes. So can you like think back and remember like what was the climate like when you came into beauty school? Because you were one of the first, not the very first, but one of the first graduating classes of even having aesthetics at Tennessee School of Beauty. But what was the job? Like, what did you think your career was going to look like 14 years ago?
Honestly, I don't think I knew when I went into it. I seeked out aesthetic school primarily for makeup, which seems so crazy at this point because that has shifted so much to understanding that the foundation is what's important and good skin health and good skin quality is where good makeup starts.
Right.
So once I got into the school, my kind of career goal, I think, shifted very early on. And then, you know, it was more relaxing facials, waxing, body treatments. I remember a microdermabrasion scared me. It was so new and so foreign, but that was primarily the like gist of medical aesthetics. I mean, chemical peels were just kind of surfacing.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got out into the world, I started more at, you know, a more holistic kind of natural, not really even a med spa. It was more like a salon and spa setting.
Okay.
And realized really early on that, I wanted a more fast-paced, more corrective, more helping people feel better about their skin, and then got plugged into the derm world, and the rest is kind of history. So that was, I guess, 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so a year in kind of like the spa setting, which I think still holds a good spot. And, you know, I think we're kind of coming full circle back around to that, you know, wellness kind of ritual, feel-good aspect of it, but also understanding that it's very innovative in the just corrective world.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool too is you having both sides of that, but being able to gravitate towards what you've gravitated towards. But where were you getting continued education at the time? Like now there's a lot of places, I mean, obviously like online and there's conferences and retreats that you can go to. There's people that are selling the machine. So when there's a new machine that comes out, there are reps that will come out to you.
100%. Yes.
Where did you get your education at that time?
Again, I think I was very fortunate to be at an established dermatology practice that kind of the forefront was education. I mean, obviously, if you're going to put these devices in the hands of, you know, newbies, you kind of want to make sure that they understand the mechanism, the ins and outs of the machine. At the end of the day, complications, because they are going to happen. And I think knowing how to understand and how to tackle those when they, you know, arise is the important to operating lasers, microneedling, chemical peels, because there is, you know, kind of an ugly side to it that I don't think should be scary.
Yeah.
But I think the more educated we are and the more we understand the ins and outs, the better the world is. So again, I think I was just very, very fortunate to be plugged into that world early on and really just kind of self-seeking. I'm kind of a nerd about it. I look on YouTube. I watch TikTok videos. I hate to say it, but I try to watch more of the educational side of things. But I stalk any and everyone that I can. I try to network as much as I can. I try to plug myself into rooms where I might feel intimidated or a little like small fish in a big pond. But I feel like that's where you really learn to grow and get to kind of absorb everything as a sponge. So I think the best thing is to stay humble, stay interested, be open to growth, be open to change, and do things a little scared.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's such great advice. And I think that's exactly why I wanted to bring you into the school, because I feel like the times that like our students coming in and when everything's brand new to you in a classroom with people where some are wanting makeup, some are wanting the spa, some are wanting the medi world, you know, like they want all of that. I think what you do really well is you can like downplay it enough to say, I can talk to you on like a real level about this, but also like this is serious stuff. I mean, it's stuff that you have to be highly educated on.
Yeah, and I think whatever you give into it, it's going to give back to you. So if, you know, whatever lane you want to find yourself in, I think the biggest thing I have learned in the last probably, I honestly want to say 5 to 6 years. So, you know, a little bit later into my career was just not doing everything, like not wanting to make sure that I could wear all the hats in the aesthetic world, not being able to offer any and everything that the world offered, and just finding what brought me joy, what I was passionate about, what I felt comfortable with. And so I think it's okay to say no to things, but it's also okay to find things that, you know, drive you and bring you passion, and to work towards that in a growth and educational way.
Yeah. What advice would you give for somebody that's like, so in school, when you're learning all of it and you're learning the basics and then building from that, what advice do you have for somebody that's like, I just haven't found my one lane yet? I haven't found the thing. Like, do you think it's okay to go into a career still kind of up in the air to say, like, what is this going to look like?
Absolutely. I think, you know, plug yourself in, meet as many people as you can. I think that's where the beauty of the social media world comes into play. It can be a little overwhelming at times, but I think that's where the community and the network really, you can plug yourself in and follow people that might be, you know, in the realm of what you see yourself doing or things that you might be interested in, and just, you know, reach out to people, see if you can shadow, see if you can follow them for a day, and just, you know, get a feel for it. I think until you know, dip your toes in or kind of get a feel for the water, you don't really know what you like to do.
Yeah.
Or if you don't like to do it, you know? So I think you just have to get out there and kind of see what the world is, because there's a lot in the aesthetic world under one umbrella that could be done.
Yeah, and changing so quickly every day. One thing that I love that's happening in Knoxville, and I know that this has to be happening in other areas, but we see it all the time here because we're so involved in this community and in the aesthetics world. You all actually have found a group that hosted a class. And I love the idea of like all of these different women, and there's obviously men in the industry, it's predominantly women, but all of these women coming together and say, what can we learn from each other? So you all had a conference or a class that you did. Which is incredible. I think that is literally moving us forward so quickly, instead of like the competition that I feel like even when I came into the beauty school, I remember it feeling a little more competitive, and you had to like not be careful, but like this salon would see that you're doing this and you have to be careful about who, like, I don't feel like it's like that anymore.
It's definitely shifted, I think, for sure in the last couple of years. And as everyone, I think, is kind of coming together and understanding we can grow as a whole, and community over competition is very important. And just having, you know, somebody to be there as a sister and a support system. I mean, I can't learn everything on my own. I can't gatekeep everything and expect the industry to grow. So I love having people that I can reach out to. I love having people I can outsource to on areas that I might not feel confident, or areas that I might not be, you know, the expert in, if you will. And I think, you know, by understanding what the community has to offer, networking, reaching out to colleagues, meeting other people. And as we grow together and continue to support each other, that's where the beauty of the aesthetic world will grow.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times people think that like it's you get through school, you get your license, and then you're ready. And I think what's so great about your story, and even again, so soon as didn't you guys just do this in the spring or in the summer?
Back in April.
Like it's new.
Maybe
and so I know that this is only going to grow into something bigger, and you're going to be able to help even more people. But I think that that's such a great message, that you've been in the industry for so long. You've got an established career, and you really could be like, okay, I'm just going to do my thing now, but you don't do that. what's
No.
amazing about you is you're like, I want to give back. I want to help people. I want to come in and talk to the students. I want to help encourage and lead. And I think that's what's going to keep your career exciting for you. Is that you're going to be able to help. And just through that conference, like I said, I think it's so awesome to see people that graduated from different schools that are technically, I mean, competition, I guess, in the air. But like you said, everyone has their specialties, and having people that you can refer to say, you know what, I'm not the expert in this, but this person is amazing. Like, I think
well, and I think I've learned too that personalities differ, traits differ, the way you operate, the experience in the treatment room, everything sets you apart from each other. And I've learned over 14 years that if somebody leaves me, I don't need to take it personal. It's just we didn't jive, and that's what makes the world go round. But that there was another fit for them in Knoxville, and I'm, happy that they were able to find somebody that they could trust and, want to have that relationship with. So I think it's one of those that it's just, again, it's okay to, not look at everybody as competition and to grow and just, to support each other.
Yeah. What advice or what qualities do you think are really important for people that are coming into this industry now? What qualities of students, what advice can you give that's like, here's how you should come into this world? And here are some qualities that you should have to be ready to be successful.
I think ambitious. I think passionate. I think eager. I think okay to, not be the smartest person in the room. Like you said, when you come out of school, you don't know it all.
Right.
I'm 14 years in, and I love to go to conferences. I love to go to retreats. I love to talk amongst even just like the 3 other estheticians that I work with daily. I mean, we learn from each other constantly and just share different tips and tricks. I tell everybody it's like when you go to Painting with a Twist and you get, the same supplies, the same, instructions, but everyone's painting looks a little bit different at the end. And that's kind of the beauty of it is, we can just grow from each other. So I think, really just showing that you're open to learning, being okay with slow days and, not everything going perfectly in the beginning.
Yes.
Growth comes with time and patience and just, perseverance and just, sticking with it and being consistent. So I think, when you show up when the going gets hard, that's when the reward pays off at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, you've been able to, again, be in front of students recently, but then you have been so great. I was talking to one of my students named Emily, who is so sweet, and I love her so much. She's one of the people that you can tell just like stands out. Like she shows up with a smile. She's ready to do whatever is like given to her that day. And she was talking about coming into shadow with you, and you've been so great about opening that door to say, come in, like when you're in school and come in shadow. And it's something that I've been really trying to encourage the students to do, because I think even if they don't come in, and even if they're not hired, even if it's not the right fit, or even if they are like, oh wait, this isn't, it's still a productive day. It's still
very productive.
positive.
And I think it just gives you a bird's eye view of what a day looks like. The functionality of, the time somebody walks in the front door to the admin, the front desk, not just the esthetician in the treatment room. It looks at, what the whole package looks like.
Yes.
The transition from, check-in to new patient to consultation to treatment to protocol, pre and post procedure, recommending skincare. There's so many moving parts to a successful visit with a patient and how to kind of lock in that trust and, gain retention. And I think you don't really get a good feel for it until you're in it live.
Right.
And every day looks so different. So I think, the more you can shadow, the more you can get kind of that firsthand experience, the more, again, it's really going to allow you to be successful and to get a good feel of, what that day looks like.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing too, is just not knowing what it, just like before they come to beauty school, they don't know exactly what beauty school is going to be like. I think that's the same thing, like going in and being like, okay, I get it. Like I see how this will work, or I see where I need to, practice some skills while I'm in school.
I think being open to learning all aspects of the job, not just, treatment, not just facials, waxing, lasers, but answering phones, taking out the trash, just being a team player on all aspects, helping out where you might see somebody falling short, or on busy days with multiple providers, somebody's schedule might be a little heavier than the other, and just being able to say like, hey, can I grab this person for you? Can I get a consent form? And I think that's the biggest thing too, is I try to put myself in front of, if they're there with the dermatologist, if they're there with the injector, if they're there just, on whatever aspect outside of myself, if, they don't already have an esthetician that they're established with, I try to just be a moving part that they feel comfortable with if they need to ask about skincare or, whatever it may be.
That's
I mean,
so
just
smart.
the more that you can just kind of be there as a moving part of your team, I think the more growth that you'll have.
What is one of the biggest misconceptions that you see of people that are, even just from patients that you're working with? What's a misconception about the industry that or about your job specifically that you're like, people just don't even know? And if they knew this, what's the misconception, do you think, about this industry?
Oh gosh, that's really hard. I think a consultation. I think that is like the biggest factor for me, is just having a conversation with somebody on where they're at. Are they a mom? Are they, working full time? Are they, traveling? You can just learn so much about somebody. And I think the conversations that happen on the daily, I think people think it's just, oh, let me put this on your face. Let me recommend sunscreen.
Yeah.
But just the moving consultation, the just hand holding in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way, but just the support that you have to be. And it's so much more than just the treatment that you were trained to do or that you might have learned to do. It's the experience. It's, the energy that you put into it. I mean, I hate to say the cliche thing, but you kind of do play therapist all day long, and just, you're there to be a friend, you're there to be a mentor, you're there to be an educator on things that they don't know. I mean, I think that's the beauty behind the aesthetic world, where I've really seen the shift, is it's no longer a beauty feel good. It's art and science mixed together to really benefit skin health. And we're there to be medical providers, if you will, if that's the route you want to take. And so I think there's a lot of just discussion that goes up behind the scenes that I don't think people are aware of. I think even my husband some days is like, now what do you do? Or, you talk that much, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of conversation, I think, that happens.
It's so vulnerable. And I think about even how shy I am going into certain services, even Ashley, the director of the school, and I will joke about it the latest. And I'm shy about things, or maybe I'm, shy to ask questions about certain things. It's so vulnerable. So I think it's funny because when we do tours, I literally today had two people that were on the fence about Cosmo or aesthetics. And it used to be that we're and I said this to you before we started recording, so it's funny that this is coming up, but I used to be well, you're so much more aesthetics personality and you're so much more cosmetology. But I think what really makes you successful is when you can have both of those things. Because I think in the past, if somebody was really quiet or shy or timid or didn't really want to talk, we're okay, do aesthetics. Because with cosmetology, you're talking 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're talking 8 hours a day. That's what you're doing. And in an almost more vulnerable way, because although some cosmetology services can be, certain topics can come up with you. I mean, it's someone's face, and it's things that they're insecure.
Makeup, it's behind, it's off the face, it's body, it's scars, it's trauma, it's, post baby, it's weight loss, it's, it is a very vulnerable experience that, I think, and that's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's just, to be able to be one-on-one with somebody and to give them the confidence or the feel good of a result or improving something that, has really, been a sensitive subject for them, is just the beauty behind it. So that's why I love what I do.
I think that's so awesome. I'm so happy that you said that, because I just really don't think it's something that people talk about a lot.
Yeah. I think the derm world really opened that up for me, is just seeing it's so much more than just topical skin. It is so much more than that. It's, and that's where I think, again, the aesthetic world shifts more into a medical setting, as far as, educating somebody on, the harm of skin cancers and, the medical side of protecting their skin. Because we see somebody 3-4 times a year. They might see their dermatologist once a year. So really understanding how you can look at things from a skin health and, again, the science aspect of it versus just, oh, they want to feel pretty. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, until you go into that spot where you're treated with that kind of care, I don't know that it's something that even, even women that we're thinking about of oh yeah, when we go in, we're gonna, talk about this stuff. I think most of the time we're shy about this thing about our bodies that, whatever, and I'm gonna have to open up and share that, but I'm gonna fix it. And it's it can be a positive, but I don't even think that we always think about what what that will look like in the appointment either, even after we get these services. So I love that. And I think that, again, that is what separates the super successful people in the industry, you know, from the people that maybe are struggling a little bit.
I think just having care and passion, it will come naturally. You know, if you, again, what you give out will come back to you.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I love and I want to talk to you about a little bit is how important it is to enjoy the people that you work with. Because I want to plug all of your stuff at the end of the episode for sure, but you post things that are fun and you really like show like a different world of aesthetics. And I think it's like, this can all be fun. We can, you know, have fun while we're at work and all of that stuff. So talk to me about, I hate to be like the culture of where you work, but what it's like at Culture and how you all have found each other to enjoy the people that you work with.
Well, we are spearheaded by two just amazing women, Erica and Layla. They just, you know, handcrafted this beautiful team of passionate women who are all well-driven. They seek education. It makes me emotional. But it's just a beautiful thing. And I've worked majority of my career in very beautiful spaces. I was just ready for a change out of the busy derm world. I wanted to know what Culture was going to be like. It was a brand new thing. And it was one of those things I didn't want to have regret if I didn't start it. I didn't want to look back and be like, oh, darn, I wish I would have, you know, taken that leap of, you know, excitement. But I'm so glad that I did. Culture is a beautiful place. And again, we are just a well-rounded team of supportive women who seek, you know, wanting the best for each other. We are constantly learning. We're constantly just sharing new innovations and tips and tricks that we've learned. It's just always a constant open discussion. And I don't know how we came together so beautifully because, I mean, it is really hard when you pull women together to, you know, not have little scuffles and things like that. But it's a sisterhood, and I think we all stay very true to each other, and we remember where we started and the culture of aesthetics that we wanted to bring to the community, and I think we just stay true to that.
Yeah. It's so clear, and I think it's awesome.
And we do have fun. And we do have fun. We try to have fun and have a healthy balance. We, you know, check in all the time with each other. But I think that's where, you know, I don't want it to always look so fun either because there is the hard side of it, the exhausted side of it, the rat race, if you will. So I try to make my social media represent, you know, what a realistic expectation is. And I think I just love what I do and I'm so passionate about it. And I think that I have really learned to balance life and work and passion so that it synergistically just comes together. And I truly do just have fun doing what I do.
And you should. And that's the thing too with like these jobs is everyone can get so serious about it. And like if it's not fun, like it's
find it, like reflect on it, find something, ask for time off. And I think that again is the beauty of Culture because I think we all kind of had that experience, had that kind of burnt out feeling that I think that's where we have really tried to stay true and recognizing when one of us might be feeling that way or really knowing that those hard conversations with a boss or administrator can happen and you can really just be truthful and say like, hey, I need a day. I need a day off. I need a light load in my schedule. You know, I need support on this end from education. And I think that just, you know, being able to talk and have that open communication is also very important.
Yeah. I want to talk to you a little bit about when you felt a pull to go somewhere new. Because I know that this is something that when you get a job, I think it's maybe more specifically with aesthetics because the job market is a little tougher than cosmetology. So I think with aesthetics, there is this feeling of like once you get a job, like you got to stay because this is, I feel like estheticians feel that pressure a little bit more of like, okay, well, where am I going to go? Is my clientele going to follow me? Like all of those things. So how did you know to like, what helped you make the decision to say, I do want to try this new thing, this new place that like didn't exist yet in Knoxville? Like, how did you make that choice? What was that like?
It was hard. But after 11 years, I felt like I had just kind of like hit the top of the ladder and was like kind of dangling my feet. And I think from an education standpoint, from a growth standpoint, I just didn't feel like I was having anything to be looking forward to or to be challenging myself with. And I don't know if that was true or if maybe that's just like where I felt like I was at. You know, there's definitely some reflection that comes after leaving and, you know, seeing, you know, that things could have been a little bit different had there been more open, communication. And that's where growth comes.
100%.
But I was very fortunate. I got that job pretty early on in my aesthetics career. I mean, I was pretty green when I got hired into such a beautiful world of lasers and chemical peels and challenging, just fun things. And I just didn't know what was out there. And I think for me, and to know that that was my home, I needed to branch out. I mean, I hate to say it's like a relationship where, you know, if it's meant to be, it'll be. But for me, I just needed to know that I wasn't passing up an opportunity that was going to be a beautiful thing and then look at it and be regretful. So there were also some, you know, just personal things that I just felt like I needed to, you know, kind of change up and challenge a little bit. And I just think God moved some mountains and the signs were all there and it just kind of fell into place. And the last 3 years have been beautiful.
I know that transition is hard. And I think that
it was very
you
hard.
Are like someone going through that, I think hearing other people go through it, to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to see like, okay, and she was okay. Like she did that and it was okay. And I
think that was it too, was to know like, okay, I was very successful. I had a very busy book of appointments, but was it me or was it the office I was working at? Was it people believed in me? Was it, you know, so there was a lot of, you know, I'm okay to hit rock bottom. I'm okay to have, you know, ground zero, start over. And I had those open discussions with my husband and, you know, we were both ready to be like, hey, you know, I've had a very successful 11 years. I'm okay for a little change. Let's see what happens. If it's not successful, we'll figure out what, you know, what the next step is. But, you know, it was one of those things you just kind of had to do it to see if it was going to be, you know?
Yeah. And I think that there's always that moment of like the doubt or the whatever. And I was listening to a podcast recently and like this weekend, and it said something about like making sure you're not stepping on your own wings. And I think that there is a point, and it's got to be probably pretty common around women our age that are like, okay, we've gotten through the hard part of our kids of having children while working. And we've gotten through the hard part of them being really little and those childcare things that you're dealing with in the beginning when there's daycare and it's always closed. And like, I feel like there's such a hard moment of time. And now even looking back, it's like hard to even like look at it and be like, how did I do that? Like, how did
just survive?
Yes. I mean, you're in survival mode. And so I think it's probably common for women our age to be like, okay, because again, as long as you grow from that in a positive way, it's all really positive to the where, you know, you can say like, okay, I'm here and I've done it, but it's not the only opportunity for me ever. It's not like this is the only thing that I can ever do. And I have to be so grateful for it, because if I, you know, do something for myself, I mean, that's just a hard thing to get through. And I think most of us weren't taught those things to be so assertive and to be
and I think
confident in
again, it
ourselves.
just came with growth. And it, you know, it was one of those things that it was a really hard thing. I waited for months back and forth on, you know, disappointment. Am I making the right decision? But when I did it, it was so empowering. And it was like, oh, wow, I just made a very hard decision. I survived it. It didn't, you know, it didn't crush me. It didn't kill me. I'm here. I'm still, you know what I mean? So all the worry and the hesitation and the, you know, fear of it, it just like was all gone. And so it was just kind of like empowering, you know, and to be, you know, I don't know, 33, whatever age I was, 32, 33, it was like, okay, all right, I'm going to survive, you know, like it's okay.
Yes, it is
okay.
so scary. And I think it's something that, again, we're just not given those tools. I think now more conversations are being had about it, but you're not necessarily always given the tools to be so confident to say like, I will be okay.
No, and I think that, you know, it just, that comes with age, that comes with growth, that comes with motherhood and wanting to, you know, show our kids that it's okay, you know, and you can do hard things and have that confidence and that voice. And, you know, I hope that my kids get it at an earlier age than I did, for sure.
And I think they will, because of the way that we're leading, just like in this different way. And again, talking about it. Like, I think even, you know, our parents' generation, like even if that was happening, it wasn't going to be discussed with us. Like it would never have been shared with us. And that's what I feel like we're trying to do differently.
Know better, do better, you know, just constantly growth and just, you know, showing that, you know, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to, you know, do hard things. It's okay to talk about it,
Mhm.
you know, but I think we're just, you know, setting, you know, new pathways for new generations.
We
Yes.
are for sure. And I want to talk to you about motherhood a little bit. So you have been able to really create this schedule that works for you all, even with this career. I think a lot of people think that because it's appointment based and if you're not there, you're not making money kind of situation. Talk to me about how you've made that work for you over the years. Now, obviously, you're doing services now that are higher ticket items. And so you're able to charge more for your time there.
Yes.
But what has that balance looked like for you over this time as well?
That has come with growth as well. I feel like, you know, when my kids were very young, I have about a 4-year age gap between my daughter and my son. But I feel like I did kind of put a little bit more effort into career early on, and then realized that I was sacrificing some home things. But I also knew that my career brought me passion and joy, and I was not fit to be a stay-at-home mom or, you know, sacrifice my career to be, I guess, I don't know how to say that in a nicer way, but I just love what I do.
That is what it is.
And so when I had my daughter, I came back, I was 5 days a week full time, and then I just, you know, went down to 4 days a week, and that was a good, healthy balance for me. And then just realizing that it was okay to ask off for field trips. It was okay to ask off for birthdays. It's okay to, you know, say I have to come in late. I think one of the first times I ever called in my career, maybe, so if my daughter was, I don't know, 3 or 4, 2 years old. I forget what age she was, but I think one of the first times I ever called in was when she had an ear infection, and it like made me sick to do that because I just wasn't accustomed to, you know, pivoting, you know, balance and things like that. But I realized that, you know, that's where I needed to be, and it was okay. My patients were okay with it. My boss was okay with it. And so I think just, you know, knowing that it's okay to, you know, have that balance and to, you know, put certain things first, but also, you know it's okay if, you know, I have a work dinner and I might miss a practice. You know, it's okay for that too. You know, don't let the guilt eat you up if you aren't at everything.
Right.
Because we have a good village, we have grandparents, we have my husband. And so it's just, you know, a good healthy balance.
Yeah.
But also,
I have the same experience of like in the beginning, I'm like when they were little, it was prioritized so much for me to be at work that I'm like, I can't miss. And what are we supposed to do with these kids? Like I didn't fully grasp, I think when we were having children, that was going to be a thing that we were going to face. And I feel the same way. But then one thing that I do think helps is that I think that what they're obviously going to remember is now we figured it out. And this is when their memories are going to be there of, you know, of us.
And I also have great memories. I mean, I come from 2 parents who had great work ethic. And, you know, my dad, you know, was kind of self-employed. My mom was a nurse and just, you know, spearheaded a lot. She's constantly learning, constantly growing. So I think that's where I get my drive from. But I think they instilled at me that it's okay and, you know, balance is good. And, you know, work hard, play hard. You know, you want to live a nice life. You kind of have to have a balance of, you know, what you can provide for your kids and what, you know, you have to do to provide that. And I also think it's, you know, teaching your kids, you know, good work ethic and, you know, showing up and having that responsibility of a career and being successful. And my kids are my biggest cheerleaders. So I try to encourage, you know, encourage them to when I'm not going to be there, why I'm not going to be there, what I'm sacrificing, you know, what it means to me and all that. But also, you know, try to involve them as much as I can and get them to, you know, just have a positive outlook on, you know, if mommy's not going to be there for something.
Yeah. And I think that that's so great. I think getting to this place, obviously, like there's a part of me too that I'm like, okay, well, if I wouldn't have worked that hard, would we be in the position to be able to say like, we're going to separate? Like it's never perfect. Like there's no right answer for like how to do this. I think it's so personal to like you, your marriage, the people that you have around you, like what support you have. But then, you know, I just do always go back to like that we're setting that example for them. And Finley like drew something at school the other day, and we, you know, have spent years going to America's Beauty Show or, you know, traveling for work and always thinking like, I have to make up for that somehow. Like you have that mom guilt. We were like, okay, well, I was gone 4 days and I need to make up that time with them somehow. And then she wrote on her paper, like the thing that she wants to do is to go to ABS with mommy and daddy. And like,
so
we were like,
that.
yes. And I was like, okay, it's all going to be okay.
We're doing okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like there won't be a perfect path
No.
for anyone, and it's going to look different for everybody, because even people, having kids and then starting their careers or whatever, I mean, there's always different ways to do it. But I do think that like now it seems like the balance is more supported, like making sure that you work in a place that is going to support
I
that
agree with that.
balance.
I agree with
And
that.
I heard something recently too that was like, some days work is going to win and some days family's going to win, and there are going to be days that work has gotten more of your attention. But making sure that you're just present when you're there, I think is something
I feel
we're
like
focused on.
life just has a way of like kind of balancing out, at least in my like my realm of things. I feel like when I'm starting to feel a little like, overwhelmed with work, or more that I'm like, shifting this way, I feel like all of a sudden it shifts this way. And, our office closed down 2 days last week for, renovation. And it was like, oh, bonus day with my kids, So it's just like, there's, days that happen randomly like that, feel that, I think, guilt, or those, moments of having a little bit of self-doubt.
Yes, I think that that's so important. And I'm so thankful for you sharing that, because I think it is something that, again, we talk about wanting it to be better for our kids, but also better for the students, better for people coming into this industry, to know that these are all challenges that we've faced as moms that are doing this. I think there was a movement and it maybe was like prior to 2020, but of this like, we can do it all and we're whatever. And now I feel like there's a more honest conversation of like, we can't.
No.
Like we truly
I don't want to.
Cannot.
I don't want to. No,
Yes.
I don't want to do it all.
Exactly.
No. Yes. And I think it's okay too to, take your PTO, ask for time off. Like, don't hold on to those vacation days. Don't stack them up. Like, book the trip. Have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I definitely have tried to always implement that, or even if it's, a day here or there, just take advantage of, check in with your boss and take advantage of time off, and, fill your cup before you give into your patients.
Yeah. And I think if there's times that you're in a spot where you feel like that isn't going to be as valued, like those are conversations that, having those early on when you're hired, or, in the interview process, I think that that's really important for both sides to be able to be honest and say, you know what, like, one day a week isn't going to work here. And if that's what you're like, it's just not the right fit, and that being okay. It's not personal. It's just trying to figure out what's going to be best for the business, best for you.
Well, and again, I think when you ask like what sets culture aside, I think we really hone in on, if you're not happy, that's okay. Like if you're, if you need something, if culture's not fitting for you, our owners and admin really check in, and they're just, if you need something, or, it's our feelings won't be hurt, just like let us know. So we want you to be happy here, because that reflects on the business. Nobody wants an employee that's unhappy, or, gonna badmouth, if anything that's happening behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a pressure we put on ourselves. And I realized that too. I was like, wait, no one's even making me no one's even expecting me to do that. Everyone would have you knew George and Adam and all of that stuff. Like no one was like, it was truly a guilt that I had built up myself.
I think that's a lot of it. I think you have to block out those noises.
Yeah. Even if it's the noise coming from your brain, because for a lot of the time when you're in that survival mode, you're not thinking right anyways. Like there's no clarity.
Fight or flight, yes. Yeah.
You're not in there at all. Okay, so I have one last question for you that I want to make sure that we get to talk about. So with the change of aesthetics, and with us being, the world shifting more to, there's kind of spa world, and there's, the paramedical world, and then there's like, this in between. What is the best thing that you see coming out of this? Like, where do you see the future of this going? Is it that the positive of where we are right now, is it that the client or the patients are more aware and are they more open to what you're telling them than in the past, because of what's on social media, because of what's out there? Are they more receptive now? Is that like a benefit of where we're going and how
I think so. I find that more people are coming in already kind of educated, and I don't know if that's based off social media, if it's based off just Google searches. I feel like, and that might be, 50-50, but I feel like people are coming in more aware of the cost of things. So that makes, it takes out that aspect. And I think the biggest thing too that I try to focus on is, again, they're coming to me as a professional. I need to take the price aspect out of it, and just more educate, more, recommend, almost, if you will, like a medical procedure, or a prescription. But I think people are coming in more eager to have overall skin health versus just a quick fix.
Okay.
I think I'm seeing more comprehensive skincare when it comes to a well-rounded skincare approach, laser approach, facial approach, injection approach, regenerative medicine approach, things like that. So I think people are coming in being okay with knowing it's going to be more than just one thing. And asking questions and being okay to, meet with an esthetician, meet with an injector, meet with a nurse practitioner about, peptides and, things like that. But I'd still say it's 50-50. You have your, we still, have that movement of people that, might not be fully educated, might have seen some trending thing on TikTok that at least gets them in the door, but are they in the right path? Probably not.
Right.
But no, I think people are definitely, it's definitely grown for sure. I mean, it's not going away.
Yeah. No, I've seen that a lot. And I do think, like you said, there's a positive and a negative to the misinformation that's out there. I think as long as they end up in a place where they're going to be able to get the right information, I think it's positive. I know I said that was my last question, but I do want to ask you one more thing, because I think that this is actually something that I'm seeing with a lot of my friends. So being 38 now, I think that first of all, we were like Noxzema pads and like no face wash, right? Yes. Like
makeup.
Yes. Like horrible. And I see these young girls now. Ever. Never once had water.
No.
The girls now are like, so skincare is starting so early.
And I think that leads back into your previous question is I think it's just things are happening sooner than they were. I mean, I was very fortunate. I went into aesthetics at, 20, 21 years old, dumped into the derm world pretty early on. And, there's all this medical grade skincare, lasers, Botox being thrown at me. And I'm like, wow, what is all this? Because no one's talking about it.
I had no idea
I think that's where it is. And I think that's where that shift has been more of I'm now 40 years old. I'm going to, 20-year school reunion. I need a quick fix. It's okay. I'm 18. I need to, protect my skin. I need to be more preventative, and so they're just starting earlier on.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how the skin world changes in the next 20, 30 years and how people's skin is just healther.
Yeah.
I know that sounns weird, but
no,
yeah.
I think that's exactly like what's going to happen. And I think that, like I said, a lot of my friends, I have someone that I know that but she came in recently, like for the first time. And I'm just realizing that a lot of my friends they haven't jumped in yet. And because because it wasn't something that we were ever taught or like, given a routine. I remember a few years ago asking Ashley to like give me all the product and write out when things are layered on. So there's just a lot of like fear also of like, I don't want to go in because I don't know what I need. So
yes.
Talk to me about what it looks like when they come to you.
Okay.
What that experience can look like if you're in your 30s, 40s, even 50s. Like, I'm sure you see people that
all
haven't
ages,
done anything.
Don't wash their face.
Yes.
They still have the makeup on from last night. I think the biggest thing is don't be embarrassed. Like there is no judgment. I actually like a fresh, just, I want to say blank canvas because you're not blank because you're coming in with your makeup on. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's okay. I think that's where I ended up in aesthetics is because I had acne. I tried everything under the sun. Cosmopolitan magazine said, put battery acid on your face. I was doing it. And that's where the aesthetic world really just opened my eyes and my brain to being educated on things. And even skincare has shifted so much. I mean, double cleansing was not around 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, that's definitely a new thing, but it makes sense. But I think the biggest thing is don't be embarrassed. Don't think there's going to be any judgment. And don't think it has to be overwhelming. I think a lot of people think they're going to have to come in and spend thousands of dollars. It's going to be, an 8-step skincare routine. It's going to be monthly visits. And that, again, I think is where a consultation is so important to just meet somebody where they're at, understand their social life, their work-life, balance.
Like what they have time for, and like
what
getting
they can
them where
commit
they're
to.
at.
Exactly, yes. And I think that, if all we can do is get you to wash your face, then that's better than what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's okay to start there. I think coming in for a consultation and just allowing yourself to be vulnerable on what really is bothering you. Because again, we all deserve to look and feel our best. And I jokingly say if I'm having a bad skin day, I'm just like in a bad mood. But I think, we deserve that. You deserve to look in the mirror. You can, change out a handbag. You can put makeup on. You can do all of this. But if, your foundation looks and feels good, you're going to look and feel good. And that just kind of, puts it out for your family, yourself, all that.
Yeah, I think what's so cool, and you mentioned this, but like having different people that you can refer to. So really getting to a starting point and saying, budget, I'm sure is discussed, like time, like all the things that you're mentioning. So I think like, if anything, like I just want to encourage people that if you're listening and haven't made the step into this yet, and you're like, I'm, have never done it before. I need to jump in, but I'm scared because now I'm too far behind. I think that's a fear too, is people are like, well, now it's gone too far and I can't jump in now because I'm too far behind.
I don't think it's ever too late either.
Yeah.
I think, again, it's like a workout, you're never going to regret putting your body first or your wellness first. And, wherever you commit is where you're going to be, and wherever you start is where you're going to be. But if you don't start, you're never going to get there.
Yes.
So I think just, allow yourself to get over that fear and the embarrassment that might come with that, and just book the appointment.
Yeah. And where can we find you?
So I'm at Culture Aesthetics. I know you already said that. So Culture Aesthetics, we have 2 locations, one here in, 2 in Knoxville, one in Farragut and one in West Hills area. And then I'm on Instagram, Laura Price _aesthetics, I believe. I should know that. And then obviously follow Culture Aesthetics as well. But you can message me, you can book an appointment with any of us, but we are here to kind of be your skin sister, if you will. Yes.
I love that so much. And I think, again, job shadowing, just a resource. You really have done so great about making yourself available for everybody. So I love that you're saying,
well, I think I've gone to these big conferences too, and it's just, I don't want you to have to go to Dallas and go to Atlanta, and they're great and they're fun. But if we can have a little network here locally, I just, that would be a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
This is great.
It was easy, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Mark, good.
First time. Was that good?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Our kids are running around somewhere downstairs, so we do need to check on them. But
speaking of, see, you can do this and have kids. Yes.
And we're like, and after work, you're going to go play with your friends. So thank you all so much for watching today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.